Welcome to the Brew Crew Podcast.
Welcome back to the Brew Crew Podcast, everyone. This is episode 119. Let me stop that Christmas stuff. This is the Christmas episode, the coveted Christmas episode, and we have a special one for you today because Matt is sick, Chris is sick, and it's best with the holidays approaching that we all keep our distance from each other. So I have a special guest today. It's my wife, Katorade. My wife. I don't know if I could say that without getting sued by some Hollywood insider. But I got Katorade here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Got to do something because, Christmas is coming. It's going to be hectic the next couple weeks. We don't know, who's going to be on the episode and who's not. So I wanted to make sure we got an episode out today. So we got 2 beers. We'll try to do a regular episode as much as possible. I don't have a game planned or anything. So we'll just do a little bit of beer news. I don't know if you have any beer news that you want to get out.
No.
No beer news. But we were talking a little bit about women in just in the world in general, just, female positivity, I guess. And there's a story, I think it's in Forbes, about the history of women in brewing. The first brewers were women. And in this is part of the article, but I don't actually have it in front of me. It's good to have a woman on the podcast. We've had the wives on when we were the Butt Chug podcast, the Butt Chug Shorts. But we're the Brew Crew now, so this is your first female appearance on an actual episode. But in ancient Mesopotamia, where beer pretty much originated, women were the brewers, and the spiritual gods they had. The beer god was actually a goddess. So that's a fun fact. And then in I don't know how England goes back forever, but in like the 1400s, women were the brewers.
I believe it.
In the old days, they used to get their nutrients from beer. Kids drank beer back in the day. I think we talked about that in one of the early Butt Chug episodes, but that's enough of that. Really important that we highlight, all the people in brewing, but women especially. So here's the story. In Wakanda, Illinois, we know Illinois fondly. Wakanda, I believe we've been there for something. I'm not sure what, but we go to Chicago all the time. There's a brewery called Side Lot Brewing, and they are being sued by Hershey for brewing beer during Halloween. One was Jolly Rancher, and they used the name Jolly Rancher, and one was Milk Duds. So they're a small brewery. They've made around $8,000 profit in their entire existence. I believe they've been around for 5 years. So not a big brewery by any means, but as we know, we see a lot of these cereal beers, cereal-themed beers, and they are like Fruit Hoops, right, from Platform. And there's some other ones like the Lucky Charms style beer. I can't remember what it's called, but it's not Lucky Charms. It's like something else.
You have Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah, you have Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but it's always called like Cinnamon Cereal or something like that. Never the name. Well, this is increasingly important because Hershey now is in Yuengling, and they're going to protect their brand, I think. So so they're suing this guy. It's a one-person, one-barrel brewery in Wakanda, Illinois. He's made $8,000 profit in his entire existence. His name is Phil Costello, and he owns Side Lot Brewing. So I'll get your take in a minute, but basically what they're saying is that he used their intellectual property to brew beer and sell beer, and now they're coming after him. What do you think?
It was Jolly Rancher, and what was
Jolly Rancher and Milk Dud. They were Halloween beers. So they don't sound horrible. They sound like they could be good beers.
I'd like to try both.
I'd like to try at least the Jolly Rancher one. Yeah, so
it's common knowledge. You don't use these actual names.
Yeah, you can't use these names.
Skirt around it like everybody else has.
I agree. And the article is really, it kind of leans towards the brewer. It kind of gives him a little sympathy. But here's my take. You're a business owner, and you're selling a product. Now, if you do something like us, the podcast, where you give it away for free, you probably have an argument here. if you were using someone's IP. At least a little bit of an argument, because we're not making any money. But this guy's making money, even a little bit of money. You're a businessman, you got to know the rules. And now that Hershey is in beer with Yuengling, they're looking at the beer market. Like, they probably have a whole team of legal analysts that look for people who are infringing on their copyrights. Sorry, man. We love beer, we love brewers, and we want to support local and small brewers. But this one, it's hard to argue in favor of. But that's happening in Illinois right now. Did you have something?
No.
Okay. Next story. 2021 is right around the corner. We obviously have to sprint out of 2020. It's a terrible year. It's been coronavirus. It's been even before that. We had like murder hornets, if you remember that. And it's just been a rough year. But Natty Light has decided that between January 1st and January 7th, if you tweet #finally21, all caps, finally21, they are giving away 2,021 cases of free Natty Light.
Wow.
So if you're one of the first 2,021 people and you want a free case of Natty Light, and who doesn't, go ahead and do that. Tweet out. I think it's Twitter, might be Instagram, because I know Instagram uses hashtags as well. Finally21 and sweepstakes, #sweepstakes. Gotta include that. So that's out there. You want some free beer.
So is this like January 1st at 12:01?
I don't know.
Pacific?
I'm gonna guess so, but
Eastern?
you can check. You can, if you Google search Natty Light free beer, and this article was posted on the Thrillist, which has actually been a provider of many beer news articles for this podcast. You can click on some of the links inside there, and it'll tell you the official rules. But it's pretty easy. It just says social media, so I'm guessing that any hashtag accepting social media. Get yourself some free Natty Light for 2021. And the last story I have here, we talked about this in March and April. Corona. People were making fun of it, right? Corona beer. Coronavirus. Who wants that? Well, apparently they have released their third quarter sales, and they have been, it says in here, not affected at all. The company said they had an added layer of pressure with the virus being named Corona. This is Constellation's beer division marketing senior vice president who's saying that. And he says, fast forward to December, Corona sales showed no impact from the unfortunate association. Sales of Corona branded beer through December 6th were consistent with what the same time in 2019, according to market research firm IRI. So essentially, they sold all 6 beers that they sold in December of 2019 to the same 22-year-old bro who drinks Corona. And that's it. And
Do you
they're
know
good.
that I've never had a Corona before?
I didn't know that.
I know I'm not missing anything.
You're not missing anything. Beer comes in all different flavors, but beer rarely needs to be added to. And this one, you put a lime in it, and in the Matt's favorite, I'm already drunk, Blue Moon, you got to put the orange slice on. And I think people feel fancy when they drink Blue Moon. And people feel fancy when they drink Corona because it's got the lime, because they're adding to it. Oh, look at my sophisticated beer here. It has fruit in it. It has fruit on top of it. It's just not good. Corona on its own is bad. Is pretty bad. But with the lime, obviously, it's going to make it a little better, because limes are great.
So
but it's not great. It's still not good.
Back to the sales reports. Were they assuming that people weren't buying it?
Yeah.
Just because of the name?
Yes.
Are people that naive?
I think back then there was the fear, I think, by Constellation that they weren't going to sell Corona because of the name Corona. And I think that at the time there was some evidence that showed that they weren't selling. But now they're saying that the December numbers are at least matching what last year's. So not affected at all is probably the wrong. This article probably had what they call in politics spin. I'm sure that the sales were terrible in March, April, May, but fine in December. People are back. That one guy is back to drinking Corona. So No, I know Corona sells a lot of bottles. But I think even with Mexican beer, and we've talked about Mexican beer a few times recently, I don't think Mexican beer, I think Mexican beer is accelerating or climbing in sales, but I don't think Corona is part of that climb. I've seen more recently Dos Equis and Sol, and I never saw Sol before.
Why do you think that is?
I think that people are embracing Mexican beer, but I think they're embracing the good ones. Like, Dos Equis, the green one, I can't remember. I think that's just called lager. That's just like drinking any regular, it's like a Yingling. It tastes really good. It's smooth. It's light. And then I've never had Sol, but I had Modelo. Not a fan. We talked about this. I don't like that they glue that foil on the top of the bottle. I think that's stupid. But there's a couple other ones that I'm blanking on right now. But I don't see it. I never personally was like, I'm not having Corona because of coronavirus. That's dumb. People aren't that stupid.
Do you think that the uptick in Dos Equis and Sol is from people not drinking Corona anymore?
Perhaps. Maybe that's exactly why. I also have seen more Mexican beer in shows. I don't watch TV.
No,
but
never.
I don't watch TV.
Nope.
Don't tell
no
Matt.
No TVs in this house.
But when I've glanced at a TV screen,
in passing,
there was a show that we just watched called Defending Jacob. It was with the guy who plays Captain America. He was drinking Sol throughout the show, if you recall at all. So I think it's just marketing, and I'm just not seeing Corona. No one talks about Corona anymore.
I don't think I've seen.
There hasn't been conversation, and maybe it's our age. Maybe we're getting to the age where like people are bringing their beer of choice, and no one's beer of choice is really Corona. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's just what it is. That's all the beer news I have. You got any thoughts on any of those stories?
No.
All right, no, that's it. All right. So I got 2 beers to review. I'll let you pick out which one you want to do first. These are both local breweries. Got these both at Shell. I talk about
These
Shell
are
all
two
the
of our
time. I
favorite
wanted
breweries.
to stop at Hall's, but I didn't have time today. So we have Branch and Bone. No. We have Branch and Bone. Heavy Fuzz. That's a Berliner with apricot, peach, and dry hopped
Sounds
with
good.
mosaic hops. And we have Nowhere in Particular. And this one is a double IPA. And I really like the name of this one, which I'll save for when we actually drink it. I definitely wanted to keep it local, and the Shell near my house sells a lot of local breweries. I tried telling the cash register guy, he's like, "Oh, what kind of beer is this?" And I said, "Oh, it's a Berliner, and it's kind of like a fruited sour." And he's like, "Oh, I love those kind of beers." And I was like, "Oh, you go to Wayne Avenue, Branch and Bone, they make great sour." He's like, he had no idea what I was talking about. I think the saying Wayne Avenue and Branch and Bone so close together, I think it threw him off. I think it was like, branch? What? Like, is it a branch of something? Like, is it a chain of stores and this is a branch? I don't know.
I've told a couple people about Branch and Bone lately.
Yeah.
And where exactly it is. I think we should start with this Nowhere in Particular,
All right.
though, since this has fruit in it.
Yeah. All right. Nowhere in Particular. This beer is called Thank You for Being a Friend. It is a double IPA, and this is what intrigued me about it. It's actually made with Pilsner malt, oats, wheat, citra hops, and mosaic hops. So let's crack this open. 3, 2, 1. And then you get a taste, and I'll talk a little bit about Nowhere in Particular. So Nowhere in Particular, we've done them before several times. They're a hobo brewer. They were a hobo brewer. Now they have an established brick and mortar location on Wilmington Pike in Kettering. I believe it's Kettering. And it's in a strip mall, so it's very hard to see. But apparently if you go around back, they have like a whole like food truck thing going on there all the time. I never went around back. I always go in the front door and then buy my stuff and leave. Every time I've been there, they started this during the coronavirus. Every time I've been there, basically you can't sit there. So I think they have a patio now, and you can stay there and drink. But every time I've been there, you had to buy to go. So that's my experience there. They have their t-shirts are super comfortable. A lot of the t-shirts that you see at some of these smaller breweries are like the cheap t-shirts, and I don't blame them, screen printed stuff that they can get cheap and then sell for a markup. But the Nora in particular shirt I got is actually really comfortable.
It looks good on you too.
Oh, thanks. And that's why you're on the podcast. All right. So you got any thoughts? I'll talk about the can and stuff.
I love everything about Nora in particular. We've always loved every beer. One of our absolute favorite beers comes from there.
Yep.
This just tastes like every dippa they put out, though. There's nothing special about it. It's really heavy on your tongue.
Okay.
Super hoppy. I like it. I'll drink all of it. Mm-hmm. I don't have any complaints at all. I don't see anything yet that makes this stand out.
Okay.
And that's sad.
What kind of flavors do you taste? Just the hops?
I can taste the citra hops. But hops, that's it. I don't taste any of, what is this, the oats?
I think there's a little oaty taste in there. Do you feel like the beer is gives you a more wet or dry feeling?
It's dry in the front and wet in the back. And it definitely coats the very back of my tongue. Is that weird? It feels weird saying that.
Matt says it all the time. What about on the breath? What do you get when you breathe out? Maybe out of your nose. These are some of the I think it's sommeliers de wine. I forget what Matt calls the beer one. But these are some of the strategies you use to taste your beer. You got to think about, front of the tongue, back of the tongue, the breath, what's the, kind of feeling it gives you. Dr. likes to call it the mouth feel. He came up with ear feel, because he pours the beer in his ear. But that's the Dr. thing, and we don't have to really worry about that. But anything else pop out when you kind of just really sit and think about the flavors that you're tasting? On the breath, nothing different?
Nothing
Okay.
different.
All right, no problem. So think about your score. Give it a couple more sips. Maybe even let it warm up a little in your hand. Sometimes these IPAs taste a little different when they're not so cold. But sometimes they taste worse, so don't let that affect the score. All right, so Nowhere in particular, thank you for being a friend. I'm hoping, I should look this up. I'm hoping that is some sort of homage to something that I missed maybe on social media. That maybe they were propelled into massive success, and this beer is a thank you, although the price doesn't thank anybody.
No.
It was $4 a can, which brings it to about $16 for a 4-pack, but I only bought 2. You can buy singles over there at Shell. And that's another guy. We talk about Halls all the time. I wish I knew the guy's name. The guy that works at that Shell, who's the beer guy, he's really, really into it. And I like to frequent, long hair. He's super nice. He'll ask you what you're looking for, what kind of stuff you like. He'll try to point you in the direction of something you might like. That's the type of service that you want.
I think his name's Denver.
His name's Denver.
I believe.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks, Denver. He's definitely made a lasting impression. I just never ask people's names because I'll forget them anyway.
I saw it on the tag. Maybe it's
okay. Maybe that's just like his brand.
Stage name.
Who knows? Yeah, stage name. Denver.
I'm gonna ask him next time.
Yeah, but he's really into the beer. He really. I feel like he tries everything because he knows so much about it. And this is the same thing with Halls. That the guy that works at Halls, Matt knows his name. He will talk to you about beer. He's proud of what he's done with beer there. And some of these places, like I was just trying to think, like what example could I give that's the opposite of this? And it's Kroger. The Kroger on Stroop. I talked to the beer guy there. He's a Kroger employee, but they put him in charge of all the beer, and he kind of gave me the idea, the vibe that it's like, well, craft beer's blowing up and we have to get on board. So it's kind of like they're doing it because there's money to be made, which is true. And that's probably why Halls does it. That's probably why Shell does it. But the people that they put in front, as the managers of that, they're so much different. Like they care deeply. So that's why, I try to go to Shell. I try to go to Halls when I can, because to support the people who honestly, you could tell they're putting their own effort into it. But anyway, Thanks for being a friend. I'm hopeful that that's some sort of homage to somebody. The can art, this is a can art bonus segment brought to you still by Dr. I think he's going to have that for a little while with the holidays here. This is a limited release. It's a gray and white can. And it's good to see a limited release at Shell, because a lot of the beers you get, and I'll talk about this with Branch and Bone, are the more common ones. If you want a limited release, you have to go to Branch and Bone. But this is a limited release in stores. And Nowhere in Particular has this like logo. It's a triangle with like two branches coming out of it. This has been on several cans, I believe, that we've seen, right? Do you remember seeing this logo?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's like their logo. I don't know what it means. I hope to find out. So it's an 8.2% big beer for, I guess not for a Dippo, but for how late it is. It's pretty late. Usually we record these at 2:00 in the afternoon. It's 10:30 at night right now. So it actually says brewed and packaged for Nowhere in Particular by Heart State Brewing in Columbus, which is really interesting because the thank you for being a friend in a Nowhere in Particular, I was actually hoping, I'm sure this is a Nowhere in Particular beer, but I think that I don't know these other guys. I don't know this Heart State Brewing.
Maybe they're friends.
I'm sure they're friends, but I want what Nowhere in Particular is doing. And maybe, I know they probably don't have the canning. They do have canning at Nowhere in Particular. At least it's called the Cabinet of Curiosities. That's the place on. So if you're searching for it, that's what you search for. Cabinet of Curiosities in Kettering on Wilmington Pike. Cocknip. That's right.
Very easy to remember.
Cocknip. Cabinet of Curiosities, Nowhere in Particular. Cocknip. What was your question? So they have canning because we've bought cans there before. My mother-in-law's husband, I don't know if he's like father-in-law or how you address that, because I have another father-in-law, stepfather-in-law. He went there and spent like $85 on a couple 4-packs. I say a couple, but he bought like one of everything, a 4-pack of everything.
We got excited.
Now some of those IPAs, that's really the can art bonus segment. It's kind of just a simple can, and they have their little logo with the skull that has the what's that thing called again? The stick with the bag on the end for like the hobos carry. It's like a pindle or something. I don't know. Matt knows again. Matt's always got those words. I
appreciate the simplicity of this.
Yeah, it's very simple, very elegant. I think the green words, thank you for being a friend, should be a little brighter. Other than that, I don't have any suggestions. They do have canning, so we bought cans there. They use stickers, so I don't know. Maybe this just wasn't part of their. Maybe they just didn't have room to make this beer. I don't know why they sent it off. I'd like to hear the story on that. And the guy from Cabinet of Curiosity did say he'd be on the podcast, so maybe we'll remember and ask him that. But prior to Cabinet of Curiosities, Nowhere in Particular was like the fruit beer kings. They were killing it with the fruit beer. They had the orange creamsicle sour. They had the cherry. What was that one? That Sonic drink that everyone likes.
Cherry limeade.
Cherry limeade. They had that. I forget what kind of beer that was. I think it was a sour or Berliner Weiss. And they were just knocking them dead. Now that they're in the Cabinet of Curiosities, I feel like they're leaning way more on the IPAs and the stouts.
So do I.
And I'll admit, some of the IPAs that I had when Scott bought them, they were hoppy. Those ones were like craft beer homages. We're going all out. They were triple hopped, whatever. And it was just like really rich, dark, hoppy, thick, like chewing on hops,
like
basically.
They were using up.
Yeah, and it's fine. I know that I thought that they were good. I mean, they had one called Pandemic, which I think I liked the most out of them. And they had a few others. But this one, I would have to say that I really am trying to get back. I want them to go back to the fruit stuff because they did so good at it. This is probably the best IPA that I've had from them so far. It's much lighter. It does not taste like an 8.2. This does not taste like an 8.2 beer. If you can get this limited release, this is probably their best IPA effort so far. And that's why I also wish that it didn't say that someone else brewed it. Even if it is their recipe, I want them to get the credit for this because this is a damn good beer. It does have an oaty taste to it. Like I said, it has oats in it. But I agree with Katorade in the fact that if it didn't say that, I probably would have never thought it. I think that seeing it made me think, okay, this has oats in it.
So what is the taste difference in Citra and Mosaic hops?
Well,
because there's something extra dry that's in the back of my throat. And I've always said, well, I feel like I can taste the Citra for sure because I've had that in different beers and I feel like I've kind of nailed that one down. But I don't know what Mosaic hops taste or smell or feel like. And so maybe that's what I'm feeling and I can't describe. I know I've had it in a lot of beer, but there's always so much mixed in that is overpowering it that I've never really nailed it down.
Personally, I think that Citra hops has more. I just go straight to the name. I think it has more of like a citrusy, more of not the citrus fruit, but more like the peel, kind of that rind taste to it, bitterness. And the Mosaic hops has just, and I never taste it, but it has, I think, more of floral hop taste to it. But I always, Mosaic hops, I kind of just go like they're hops. Like maybe they taste like hops, like plant hops plant.
Okay.
Like, whereas I think personally I get more from a Citra hop. I get more of what it's claiming to be or trying to be. And then Mosaic, I've never really been able to identify all that. But in this particular beer, same thing. I think it leans more towards the oats and the wheat than it does to like fruit and floral stuff. I get this is you said dry on the front and wet in the back. I'm the opposite. I think that this is like it drinks wet, but it goes down super dry. It leaves your mouth dry. It leaves you thirsty. It leaves me thirsty.
I'm
not
thirsty.
you. It leaves me thirsty.
No, I'm thirsty.
It's a dry beer, but it is good. I mean, because when you drink it, it actually is refreshing. It's a refreshing drink, but when you haven't had a sip in a while, it does taste super dry. I was really interested in this Pilsner malt. I thought this is going to give this beer a different taste. This is going to give it kind of more of that... I guess it would be like a bready, kind of Pilsnery, yeast kind of taste. I know these are malts, but my brain associates Pilsners with a certain flavor, and I thought that this would be like a Pilsner IPA. It's not. You can't really taste that at all. I think that the flavors that stick out here are the wheat and the Citra hops, but it's pretty dry on the end. And if you want an 8.2% beer that doesn't taste like an 8.2%, definitely try to get this limited release while you can.
I really appreciate this.
Yeah.
Like what they've done with this.
So we gotta do some scores here.
Right. I'm teetering.
So you're teetering. I'll let you go first so that it's not influenced. Usually we try to get our scores written down or thought of before the other participants say it. I'm still kind of up in the air too, but I think I know where I'm going to land on this beer.
This is definitely the best DIPA I've had.
Okay.
And we should go buy it up in bulk while we can.
Well, if you want to spend $16 on a 4-pack, which I would for this one.
Yeah. We might have to just.
There are DIPAs out there that I think have knocked our socks off. But this is where it's worth it. And you're getting that small craft brew taste out of this beer.
I like fruity things better.
Okay. Fair enough.
But so I'm going to say on a DIPA level, I would give it a 4.25. On an all-time
your total score,
I'll give it a 3.75.
3.75.
It is very good. I would say let's go buy more. But if you have this next to something with fruit in it in the fridge, I'm gonna grab the fruit instead of this.
Yeah, makes sense. This would be, if you love IPAs and you like the Dippas, this is a good one. I'm at 4.25 on this one. It's not the best Dippa I've had. It is far beyond any of the worst ones I've had. I mean, this beer is really good. I wanted it. I think it didn't get a higher score because I wanted it to be more unique. Seeing what was in it, seeing it's from nowhere in particular. You've built a reputation on being unique. I've had a few IPAs from you that also weren't particularly unique, although they were good. You're making good beer, so none of this is an insult. But this particular one, I thought, wow, limited release, Pilsner malt, all these different things. I think this is going to be like a wintry IPA. I think this is going to have like a thickness and a warmth to it, but it didn't have any of those things. And that's probably my own hype, just making it lower. But a 4.25 is pretty damn good for an IPA. I mean, we've had like hundreds of IPAs. So that's pretty good. Now, speaking of having a fruit beer next to an IPA, we got one. So this next one is Branch and Bone. They're on Wayne Avenue in, I believe that's Dayton.
Yes.
That's Dayton. They're near, I always say across from, but they're near Tanks. If you know where Tanks is, you're in the Dayton region, they're near Tanks. But we're actually going to probably start flipping that around and now say Tanks is near Branch and Bone, because I think Branch and Bone is probably surpassed in reputation and in appeal. Going to Branch and Bone is probably more enjoyable than going to Tanks at this point.
What's the other place that's it's right next to the Oregon district? It's the pub.
The Troll Pub?
No.
It's a pub. Well, there's a bunch of places. There's
it's the Irish place.
Well, there's the Blind Bob's. There's the Toxic Brewery.
No, it's out of the Oregon district.
Irish place.
Right across from it. Oh, what's that called? I'm gonna look it up. You keep
Dublin Pub?
Dublin Pub.
Dublin Pub.
It's across from Dublin Pub.
Oh, okay. It's across from Dublin.
Not across from it. It's close to it. A lot of people probably won't know where Tanks is. A lot of people.
I think a lot of people know where Tanks is.
Let me switch that up.
Tanks is pretty popular.
Some people may not know where Tanks is, but a lot of people will know where Dublin Pub is.
You know where everyone knows? Everyone knows where the 35 is at. If you're on Wayne Avenue and you're at the 35, or if you're on the 35 and you're coming up to Wayne Avenue, that's where get off
there.
because you're at Branch and Bone.
Yep.
It's an unexpectedly quaint brewery for where it's located. Unexpected for how enjoyable of an experience actually going there is. When you are, and this isn't, again, no offense to the neighborhood. It's not the neighborhood. The neighborhood's really nice actually when you park and you walk around, because you have to, if you want to go for a release day, you kind of have to park in the neighborhood. A lot of nice like old bungalows or you know old brick houses, and a nice neighborhood. But the Wayne Avenue itself is like this real like blue collar kind of factory feeling thoroughfare. It's you go down the street, and this is like where all the people in like the old Dayton used to go to their factory jobs or their manual labor jobs. And then there's Branch and Bone, and it's like this, and it's so comfortable in there. They have a patio now, and that's comfortable. We sat there on a cold day, I believe, last winter, and it was even comfortable. So anyway, it's a great place. We've done a podcast there. Chris and I did it when Matt was deployed. It's a great place. So let's break into this beer and get the review, and we can keep talking about Branch and Bone. So 3, 2, 1. These are two perfect cracks. The guys can never get that. Always got to have a woman's touch. We should have rolled them.
To you, lady.
I always forget to roll these beers, but I'm going to guess that there's going to be more fruit on the bottom than on the top. So I'm going to try to swirl it around.
Do you want to pour them?
So I think we're fine. So just to remind everybody, this is Heavy Fuzz. This is a Berliner with apricot, peach, dry hopped with mosaic hops. So again, mosaic hops probably more of like a floral hop, but I won't taste it.
Coming around to Berliner Weisses.
Yeah. Well, Berliner Weiss is basically the precursor to a sour.
I've chosen these a lot more lately. I'll say that.
Yeah, so jump in. Dive into the beer.
Okay.
I'll talk about Branch and Bone a little more. Landon was the guy we talked to. I forget what episode. Matt's got the spreadsheet. He'll tell you. Good guy. I mean, that guy knows his beer. This is a 5%, comes in a pint, also $4 a can. But I think that their 4-packs aren't 16. I think the Nowhere in particulars are split evenly. I think the singles on Branch and Bone are more expensive than buying a 4-pack. But I mean, the can art is great, which I'll talk about. Branch and Bone, I will say this, I haven't bought any merch from Branch and Bone in a while. I think Chris has a hat and it looks great on him. I bought a shirt and it is not a great shirt. I'm a critic of shirts. I know what I like, and I love the logo, and I was like, I'll wear this shirt. Like, there's a lot of shirts that I'll look at, and I'll think, oh, man, I'll never wear that.
Has it in this moment become my shirt?
Probably. It's probably your shirt now. I don't like shirts where the necks get all stretched out, and that shirt, it was stretched from the get-go. So, Branch and Bone, if you're listening, which hopefully you are, because you definitely like every time I post about you, you like it. Hopefully you're listening. The shirts that you had, at least when did we go there? Probably November of last year. If you're still using the same shirt provider, switch it, because those shirts, I'll never wear that shirt. And I love the design. I was like, I'll wear that. Because I look at shirts and I'm like, I want that shirt. And then I'm thinking, am I really going to wear that? What kind of message am I sending if I wear this shirt here? Well, with Branch and Bone, I want to send the message of go to Branch and Bone. I want to preach the gospel of Branch and Bone. And Nowhere in particular. And I just don't wear the shirt. So it would be cool if you guys had more comfortably fitting shirts.
You sure tailored these beers towards me.
Did I?
You got our 2 favorite breweries. And, well, I know you've been very fond of Crooked Handle lately.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, we're just big local brewery fans. But yeah, I mean,
but these are the 2 I would turn
as far
to.
as you go, yeah, these are definitely breweries that you're very fond of. Crooked Handle is climbing the ladder in my heart. I still favor these 2 a little bit more. And I haven't found a Dayton brewer that has exceeded expectations as much as these 2 guys have. These 2 groups. It's not just one person. And I'm glad we're starting to see them more and more. I'm actually hopeful. The Fifth Third Field has, I don't think it's Fifth Third anymore, but where the Dayton Dragons play, they have a craft beer place inside there. And every time I go there, it's always the same stuff. It's always the same brewers. And I'm really hopeful that you're going to be able to go to a Dragons game and get one of these guys on tap, which would make it exceptionally better. Because, I mean, those minor league games, it's for the kids.
Right.
You know, it's for families to go and enjoy. But there's one reason that it makes it more fun for the dad and mom if you can get exceptionally good craft beer. Because the food's just average, too. And they need to get these guys in there. They need to.
I don't even remember what we had last time we took the kids.
I think last time...
It's like a line and Kugel.
No, it wasn't line and Kugel. I never
Was
get
it a
that.
Blue Moon?
No, it was not a Blue
orange?
Moon. It was... I think...
I don't think I've ever seen you drink a Blue Moon.
Oh, yeah. It would be... It's at least been years, other than I think Matt gave me one and made me have it on the podcast. But
that must be...
I don't remember what I had, but it was probably... some Warped Wing or Lock 27 beer or something, which those are great too, but not, it's good to have options, but I want these guys. It's all IPAs because I think they're afraid to experiment with the different kinds. Like everyone, they know IPAs will sell, but you get like a fruited sour. How long is it going to sit?
Yeah. Not
long. I guarantee it. All right. Heavy Fuzz. You got thoughts yet? Branch and Bone.
Wonderful take a couple more sips.
Wonderful place.
It really is.
Kid friendly. They said, but I wouldn't. I don't think I would.
I've been in there with kids in there.
Yeah, I've been in there with kids in there too, but I wouldn't bring them to a release day, and I wouldn't bring them on a Friday or Saturday. I would bring them during the week. If you want to, they have games in there. They are kid friendly, yeah. They have games. I've been in there with kids in there now that I think about it.
10 tables in there and a whole shelf of games.
So they are actually kid friendly. But I would I'm going to say this about Branch and Bone, and I hope to experience the same thing with Nowhere in particular. I feel like there's always going to be posers everywhere. But I feel like people who really actually like craft beer and aren't just like these like dickheads. They're not the assholes of craft. More hops. I want more hops. I feel like the people who like actually taste their beer go to Branch and Bone and sit there and drink the beer. Chris went to their Dimmer Day, which is their coffee line. It's multiple different kinds of coffee.
We also went to Dimmer Day.
Did we?
We did.
I don't remember going to Dimmer Day. Well, we have Dimmer, but I think we got those from Chris.
Did we?
I think Chris gave those to me. We didn't go to Dimmer Day. We went to something else. What beer did we get from them?
We've been to a ton of their releases.
We've been to a few of their releases, but Dimmer Day is like a whole thing. The inside is all tastings and stuff.
Maybe we didn't then.
I feel like that was, for Chris, was an experience that was like, this is what craft beer is supposed to be about. Whereas, you go, I feel like sometimes I go to Warped Wing and the people that are in there critiquing, that should be just tasting the beer and enjoying themselves, are critiquing everyone else. There's gatekeepers to craft beer. There's the people who are like, you're wrong. They'll go, you're wrong, or blah blah blah. And then there's the people who are like, this beer is good, or this beer is wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there are people who are they're only in it to just call other people out and make themselves feel better about themselves.
Well, I don't like this.
Just enjoy your fucking beer, people. Yeah. That's why we started this podcast. If you guys don't know, if you're listening, we started this podcast because there's so many fucking pretentious assholes out there. We talk about beer like nothing's ever right. Like, just enjoy. If you like a beer, give it a 5. There's no rule against it. If you like a beer, you don't like a beer, say you don't like a beer. There's no one out there. If there's an IPA that's renowned and you fucking hate it, that's okay. Hate it. It's your taste buds, not no one else's. Anyway, but I feel like the crowd that you get at Branch and Bone, they're a more like warm and accepting crowd than the crowd you get at some of these other places. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then there's the complete opposite of both of those, the accepting and not accepting. There's Rheingeist, where you go and it's basically like just people trying to get shit-faced and have a good time. It's like a tourist place.
Yeah.
And it is a fucking awesome place. And the last time we went there, I got pretty shit-faced.
With the guys?
Yeah, with the guys. We went there and we had bingo, Cincinnati bingo. And one of them was to get a free beer. And I got the free beer. Because we showed the bartender the bingo sheet and she gave me a free beer. It was awesome. It's probably because these guys were being mean to me again.
Probably. I just saw today on social media that they have transformed one of their rooms and you can rent it out by the 2-hour period.
Oh.
And so you're socially distanced, but you have games and you have beer and
that's
you have
awesome.
a nice safe space with friends. I think it's up to 10 people in this space.
So you do have beer news.
Oh. Yes, I do.
That's awesome. You can go to Rheingeist and get a socially distanced space. That's awesome.
2-hour slot.
I do really like Rheingeist. The location. I like the beer too. I'll never forget the Instagram live where I was like, will you release Peach Dodo on Nitro in cans? That's what I said. And he's like, and he only read the first part. He's like, will you release Peach Dodo on Nitro? He's like, we did that. And he moved on. I was like, what the fuck, man? Like that is hands down probably one of the top 10 beers I've ever had. Peach Dodo on Nitro. It was like eating a peach cobbler.
You like peach?
I do like peach. I like peaches, yeah.
Branch and Bone had a peach tea Berliner Weiss.
Peach tea Berliner Weiss, yep. That was one of my top favorite beers of all time.
And peach
still
Dodo,
to this day, one of my
Rheingeist.
best.
And the other favorite was orange creamsicle.
Orange creamsicle from Nowhere in particular. That's right. Yeah, these are some of my favorite beers. You remember them all. I do like peach. You're right, and I think peach is good in beer.
I do too. I would not think that it would be good, all aled up. But it is.
It is.
So my first sip of this, I almost was turned off because it had the aroma of armpit.
Did it?
It did, but it went away as soon as I got a few sips in, and it really coated my tongue. It tastes like a stone fruit Berliner Weiss, I guess. I mean, it's exactly what it describes it to be. I really like it. I could keep drinking this. It doesn't. There's zero heaviness to this at all. I don't even. Maybe I taste the hops. Now that I'm thinking about it, I was gonna say I don't taste the hops up front at all. I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, the hops are kind of subtle in there.
They are. You don't. It just tastes like a sour.
Yeah.
I know it says there's hops, but you could really fool me there.
So what my first sip was like, it really kind of hit me hard. Like,
Oh, your eyeballs got wide.
I was like, whoa, this beer actually has some kick to it. And we used to do sours like all the time on this podcast. We probably did, I would say 20 sours in the first 50 episodes at least. And then we stopped. And then people started saying we were doing too many IPAs, which I didn't think we were doing. I thought we had a good mix. We had a whole period of time where Chris was doing an everyman's kind of special where he would get one beer that's a craft beer and one that's like, that was you?
Yeah, I suggested that.
Katie suggested that? Chris was the one
He implemented
buying it. Yeah, he implemented it.
Maybe he was doing it before.
I don't know, but yeah,
Let's
beers
give it to
that
Chris.
are accessible to everyone, and so I thought we were doing a good job at kind of splitting. Maybe they're just fucking with us. Maybe these are all like Matt's buddies, fucking with us because they do that from time to time. But I didn't see the IPA run that people claimed we were doing, but we did a lot of sours, like a lot of sours. It was almost probably too many. But at the time we were saying we were chasing that super sour beer. And every time it hits you in the cheeks, then you know you're getting at least somewhere near where you want to be with a sour. Because some of these sour beers claim to be sour, and they're not. They just are the style of sour. But they're not actually sour. And I think that happens a lot with like your Creamiere beers, like the pie variations, the key lime pie beers and stuff.
Did you say Creamiere?
Creamiere.
Oh.
Creamiere beers. Creamiere flavors, not the beer. The beers are sour. So like the key lime pie sours we've had, those don't really have sourness.
No.
They're creamy. But this one has sourness.
Yes.
This one hits you in the cheeks. I feel like I need to go buy 2 more for Chris and Matt because I think they're really going to like it.
Absolutely.
I know Matt like pretty much hates every fruit, but I can't remember if peach was one of them. I know he hates all melons.
I think that he really likes imitation orange.
He does like imitation orange. I've gone ahead and just bought a shitload of little vials of it. You know, like they have the vanilla.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Matt. You're getting fake orange for Christmas this year. But yeah, I think the big thing about Berliner Weiss is this is where I first realized, like, I think what yeast tastes like.
Okay.
Is in these beers.
Is yeast as in bready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like not bready in like a finished way. Just there's a flavor
like
in a Berliner Weiss.
Bread?
Yeah, kind of like that what is that flavor? What would you describe that smell as being? It's not bitter. It's kind of just like
it the
pungent.
Smell when we went to Omegang?
Maybe.
Remember,
Oh yeah,
when
when
you
you drive into
walked in.
Omegang, there's a big
when you
there's
open
a
the
huge
doors.
smell of this
That's
yeast stuff.
whenever I hear you guys talk about yeast and bready, that's what I imagine in my head.
Yeah, that or if
never
your
asked.
mom ever make like bread that rises, you got to put like a towel over it and let it rise overnight.
Not that I remember.
There's a smell to that.
But I've done that.
Well, you've done it. Okay, so you smelled that, and that it just had. I think the yeast flavor is more of like the exhale
Okay.
than it
That
is
makes
on the
sense.
flavor, because I think it kind of brings your mind back to smelling fresh made bread. Mm-hmm. Whereas the flavor of bread doesn't taste like yeast. The flavor of bread tastes like bread.
Yeah.
The yeast is more of a smell. And Berliner Weisses have that yeastiness. Now, there are some that nor in particular does. They're like spontaneous fermentation. I don't know the science behind that. Obviously, it's spontaneous. But I think it's all a timing thing. I think these take a little longer, and that's what gives it like that aged flavor. I think it's just like has like not an aged flavor. That's the wrong thing to say because beer is aged. There's certain aged beers that have their own flavor, but this I think the spontaneous stuff doesn't have this yeastiness.
Okay.
It has just like that fruit sour boom, and you're done. We should go to Urban Artifact. Urban Artifact has a whole line of dinosaur beers. They're like Stegosaurus and Brontosaurus and stuff.
That sounds
and they're all
awesome.
like these aged sours, and they don't have this
Okay.
flavor to them. But I like the flavor. What do you think?
I really like the. Did I not talk about the flavor? I really like the flavor.
Well, we got apricots. I know you said you can't taste the hops. The hops are subtle.
So I know, obviously, by reading, there's stone fruit in here. I can't differentiate between the apricot and the peach, but I can tell there is stone fruit.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
I've never heard the term stone fruit.
It's a fruit with a pit.
Fruit with a pit. That's stone fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Never heard that before. It's good. This is where you make fun of me.
I don't.
I'm
do that.
joking. No, this is where
I
Matt
don't
chimes
have
in. He'll get on.
friends
He'll get
back
on
in
Facebook
Wisconsin,
and let me
that
know.
Are waiting, chomping at the bit. I don't make fun of my
Yeah,
husband.
I've never heard that term before. Stone fruit. Okay, so you can't differentiate between the peach and the apricot.
I cannot, but it's good. I
Yeah.
mean, they did a perfect job mixing these. Apricot, I always feel like is more tart than a peach.
Yeah.
A peach should bring that sweetness. So
Peach is like
bringing
sweet,
the
juicy.
two together, it's
Yeah.
perfect. I can't taste the difference, but I absolutely love this.
You want to rate it or you want to wait?
I'm gonna drink a little bit more.
All right, keep drinking it. All right, so this is the Can Art Boner segment brought to you by Dr. Thanks, Dr. So the can kind of reminds me of like snowy mountains, but it also looks like, if you guys are familiar, all my friends in geospatial will know this, and all of my friends in the autonomous vehicle will know this. This is like a LiDAR point cloud of mountains or hills. It also, if you were an early adopter of smartphone technology, probably we're talking like 09 or 2010, this is a Flappy Wings. Remember that game?
How could
Flappy
you
Bird
not?
or something? Where you have to ride the hills all the way to
Yeah.
like the sunset.
This is Flappy Bird.
And Flappy Bird. Totally like reminds me of that. Like I could play the game in my head right now. But this definitely has the look of a LiDAR point cloud. And LiDAR is basically, laser imaging, and it is all about the texture and the topology. That's what this looks like. So it's just a bunch of hills, one behind the other, and it's dots that make up those hills. So it kind of looks like a snowy mountain range or snowy hills, but they're just dots. And then Heavy Fuzz, black text, all caps, typical Branch and Bone thing. They got their, what do they call that garden tool there? The Reaper.
I was literally just
the Reaper
looking
and
at
the
it,
Branch.
trying to remember, because I know Matt likes to.
Yeah,
argue
so they have the Branch and the Reaper as their logo, and then all their cans have pretty similar like textual content. Pretty appealing, actually. Very plain and well done. And then the background is different on every can, and this one just happens to look like a LiDAR point cloud. So that's the can art boner segment. Keep cold, consume fresh, and recycle. That's what it says on it. So I do get apricot. That's the can art boner segment brought to you by Dr.
Good.
Hum. I get the apricot. I get more of that than the peach. But most of all, I get like a sour IPA. But the hops are subtle. I think that you could sell this beer. It not IPA. I misspoke. A hoppy, like a fruit hop or a sour. Yeah, I guess sour IPA. We've had a few sour IPAs on this podcast. You could probably sell this beer as more than just a Berliner, even though I know that's a style of beer you're brewing. Man, it's actually really good. The first drink, it'll hit you, especially if you drink a double IPA right before it. As it warms up in my hand, it's not as good as the first few very cold sips. I would suggest, if you get this on tap, don't get a full pint glass. Get maybe a 12-ounce glass or an 8-ounce glass and just drink it right away because it's going to be super cold. I think as it warms up, it's getting a little less appealing.
I actually like it more.
You like it more? Wow.
I taste more of the fruit the warmer it gets.
Yeah, I like it
don't
colder.
taste peach at all.
Wow.
I only taste the apricot.
Really? Mm-hmm. And before you only got peach?
No, before I got apricot and peach.
Oh, okay.
But more apricot than peach.
Oh, okay.
I mean, my palate's just messed up right now from the IPA.
It probably is. The IPA probably messed
That was
us up.
pretty heavy. Now I only taste the apricot, but I think I like it better.
I'm still getting the apricot. It's not as sour as the first couple tastes. And that, again, could have been the IPA. I like it better cold. You think it's getting better as it warms. And that happens. A lot of beers will tell you to serve it at 45 degrees or whatever. I like this beer. I feel like recently I haven't gotten out of Branch and Bone what I did in the beginning.
I agree.
And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's my own arrogance. When we were getting Branch and Bone when they first opened, it was like, every beer was just blowing our minds. But now I felt recently like some of the beers were just middle of the road. This is kind of a return for Branch and Bone, in my opinion, to that. Wow, you are making killer beer kind of moment for me. And I don't know what it was. This one, I like this beer. I really would like this beer on tap. I'm at 4.5.
I'm also at 4.5.
There you go. Look at that.
I wish you would have let me
Right
go
on par.
first.
Well, I had to drop it in there. 4.5, heavy fuzz. This is a really good beer. I think that Matt and Chris would really like this beer. It's been a while since we've had a good sour on the podcast. This is great. I think we might actually want to try to venture over to Branch and Bone before Christmas and try to get this beer on tap if they have it.
Yeah.
This would be really, really good. I'll get mine cold. You get yours warm. And it'll be awesome. Yeah, this is good. Get this beer. They have it at the Shell if you're local to Dayton. If not, and you want to try this beer, if sours are things you like, ask one of us, and we'll try to get it as long as it's in stock. But after this podcast drops, this is going to be like our probably most popular episode ever. It'll be gone. It'll be sold out. If you go to the Shell where the crispy crunchy chicken's at on Stroop, man, they got it. They have tons of it.
That's our jam.
I
find myself going there before I choose to go to Arrow nowadays.
Same here.
Not only is, we'll call him Denver, very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
They always have something new and interesting and something that sounds amazing that I desire to try. I don't ever walk away from there empty-handed, and neither do you.
No, I don't.
There are times we've pulled up and you've walked in saying you're going to get a beer for the podcast, and you walk out with 8.
Yeah, I get a lot of beer there.
I mean,
they're selling a lot of
dangerous game
Arche
to
there
play.
now too. If you guys are Arche fans, they're selling a lot of that too. They're embracing the local brewers. Like they're not letting Platform take over their shelves, which Platform's great. And Chugalo Jeff from Connecticut, he messaged me saying that he works for a distributor. They're probably going to be distributing some Platform now, so they're getting out there.
Wow.
They're going to be getting out there into the New England
Good for
territory. But Arrow, there's a couple things about Arrow that bother me. One, all of the big glass bottles of beer that look like wine bottles, they don't ever move those. They're dusting, like the ones they've just been sitting there.
Right.
So it doesn't appear that the person who takes care of the beer is taking care of the beer, when I know they are, because I've talked to those people. So there's no offense, but like, clean those bottles off. 2,
You're selling a $16 bottle of beer.
yeah, exactly. It's more than that even. Some of them are $20-$25. When these bourbon barrel stouts come out, the various different ones, you have to ask for them. They're hiding them in the back. And I don't know if that's by design or what, but personally, I feel like that is an insider, like, bullshit. I don't think you should. I think that you put the beer out, okay, this is a popular beer and people are going crazy. Put a limit on it,
Yeah.
And just don't. And if that guy wants to come back 42 times and buy it all, fine. Then he has to keep going out and coming back, going out and coming back. But I didn't like that when Matt told us about the Goose Island bourbon barrel. I had to ask for it, and he went in the back and gave me 1 bottle. I'm not sure that I like that whole concept.
There was
there.
a
I
limit
think
on that everywhere.
there's a limit. That's fine. Put a limit on it, but don't hide it. I feel like you're preventing certain consumers who aren't as, like, I don't ever ask for help at Arrow. I want to go and just explore the beer, find what I like, and go. And I'm like, how can this place not have this beer? Well, it turns out they did have it, and it was just in the back. I didn't like that. Something about that just bothers me. I'm not sure why. I feel like that just kind of harbors a possibility for like just insider deals.
Yeah.
Drug deals.
Yeah.
People saying, "Oh, put like a whole case aside for me."
It was
like, how do you know? If you don't make it, if you didn't, this is how Branch and Bone does the release days. If you don't make it on Saturday, you're done. It's done. It's gone. That's sold out. It's gonna sell out on Saturday. Whereas I feel like if you can't even find the beer on the floor, there's something, I don't know. I'm just not comfortable with it. But at Shell and at Halls, it's all out there. Like, those people are super proud of what they've done, and they're going to show you what they have. They're not hiding anything. And maybe Arrow's not hiding anything either. I shouldn't accuse them of that. Just something bothers me about the fact that it's in the back.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the back ever, right? Every time you go to the store and you're always like, do you have this thing, this new toy? They're like, I'll check the back. And then they go back and they're like, this person thinks I'm checking the back. There's nothing in the back. Like, everything's on the floor, people. Well, not here, not at Arrow. They're hiding stuff in the back. It's fucking bullshit. Put the beer out, and if some novice buys it, so be it.
I will say that Arrow has always had what I've been looking for in stock.
Yeah.
But recently I've gone to find things and peruse and pick and choose, and it wasn't something in particular. And I found myself at Shell with twice the haul because I walked into Shell and said, oh my God, I need one of each of these things on the shelf.
Yeah.
Versus Arrow, I was able to walk pretty much past everything.
Yeah.
And be like, seen this before.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah.
There's nothing special.
They've had a lot of the same beers on the shelf since,
Yeah.
like, I started the beer club in 2000. Now, I didn't start the beer club since I became a member of the beer club in, like, 2015. There's some beers that are still there, like that. What was that brown? It was like a stout that it was like a skid mark. Remember that? I think who was that? It was like Around the Bend or Against the Grain or something like that brewery. But yeah, I think so. I think we're basically given a lesson here. If you enjoy craft beer, it's not just the brewers that are kind of they're what do you call it when you're just like it's not just the brewers that are distributing joy. You're finding that now in some of the locations where you can buy canned beer, including Shell and Halls. And I think there was a little bit of that at Belmont Party Supply before they sold. I haven't been there since they sold.
I've never been there.
There was a guy in there, super nice, super helpful, knew everything about beer. I think he had a couple beers that he liked. And when you weren't buying those types of beers, he was like, oh, this beer. Like, I think there was a little bit of that, but you could tell he was still proud of Belmont Party Supply. Okay. And I think this should go for Wisconsin, Minnesota, everywhere. And this is for brewers too. It might, your days probably are long. You're brewing beer, you're selling beer, you're behind the bar, you're in front of the bar, you're doing the business, the paperwork. And the same thing for the beer stores. You got to stock the shelves, you got to do the inventory, you got to do all this stuff. Your day is long, but we can tell the consumer, especially ones who like craft beer, we can tell when you have pride in your work. We can tell when you're excited to show other people. And I think that is really what's drawing people to certain businesses. And as I said, I try to say this every week now because the coronavirus has destroyed so many businesses. Get out there and support your local businesses. But some of the local businesses that we talk about because they've reciprocated. They've given us a reason to come back. And that's, I think there's a lesson to be learned there. It's not just, sometimes retail can be fun. Yeah. A fun experience. Doesn't always have to be a nightmare. And I think that there are some people at Arrow who have pride in it. They just aren't on the floor talking about beer, whereas, other places they are.
I always find myself going to the same gentleman that is always working. Yeah. And asking for help, and he can point me to whatever I'm looking for in 2 seconds. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he is extremely knowledgeable and always helpful and always kind. I just don't think that they have the rotating selection that Shell does.
They don't. They don't rotate anything.
Shell will get a lot of a product in, but they know it's going to sell within a week. And then they restock that shelf with something just as great. Yeah. And every time we go in, and we have to just pace ourselves because we end up with full fridges.
Yeah, right. Yep, and then I have to wind up giving beer away. Got too much of it. But if you are a listener in Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, any other state where we have a pretty good following, and you have a place that you like, I know this conversation hasn't been extremely relevant to you, but post it. We got to support our local businesses. As long as I guess it's fair to do it, but it's not like Kroger. I think they're doing okay selling toilet paper and groceries. If you have a local business that you buy your beer from and you want to promote them, go ahead and throw it on our Facebook page, throw it on our Instagram or Twitter, which we don't really have a big Twitter following, but maybe that'll change. And promote those businesses. It's always good to promote those businesses. If you have a business that you want to promote it. We don't give a shit. And we'll thumbs up it and share it, whatever. Go ahead and do it. It's that time of season. Make sure you tip. Always tip extra during the Christmas season, or whenever. You can tip tip extra. And if the person does a shitty job, just don't under tip. Just tip them normally because they probably had a shitty day, and that's the reason why they're having shitty service. It's not you. It's definitely not you, unless it is you. Some of you guys are fucking clowns, and you should be served by only the rudest of people. But some of you guys are really nice, Yeah. And some people just have bad days.
You always have to tip well.
The service industry took a hit during coronavirus. Don't under tip because you know what? Baby boomers do that.
Yeah.
I have a big baby boomer problem. Have you ever been told by a baby boomer to leave a penny?
Yes, I have.
Leave a penny if you have bad service, because that tells them that you know it was bad service and you didn't forget to tip. Fuck that.
Making a point.
That is some fucked up shit.
I can never.
That's fucked up. Don't tip a penny. Just tip.
Yep.
Tip them. And you know what? At the end of the day, if you just give them the standard tip, they'll walk away and not think anything of it, and it won't matter.
I know you hate the thought of tipping, period.
I hate it. I think we should get rid of it.
But you have always been an extremely generous tipper.
Yeah, because...
And as someone
that's
who
why
used
I
to
hate
be
it.
in the service industry, we appreciate people like you that have that goodness in your heart, where you can't undertip.
Can't undertip.
Nope.
Yeah, but I also don't go out much.
Well, this is when I was, a teenager in young 20s, and I was, living off tips for the most part.
Yeah, you're living off tips. That's what I'm saying. Like if I went out to eat all the time, I'd probably just be like a 10% tipper.
Yeah.
But we go out maybe once every 2 weeks, if that, maybe once a month.
Yeah.
Like rarely do we go somewhere where tipping's required. So when we do, I tip well. 20% typically is where I start. If it's bad service, I'll go a little lower, but not really lower than 20%. But most of the time, I'll try to convince myself to just give a good tip. But it's the Christmas season. People, if you're doing fine, there are people who aren't. I'm not saying that people in the service industry are struggling. Maybe they're doing great, but they're serving you. Tip them.
Yep.
And go to your local bars, order some beers, tip the waitress, tip the bartender. Take care of people. That's all. It's Christmas season. You got any parting words?
We're going to go tip some people at Branch and Bone.
We're going to tip some people at Branch and Bone. That's probably true.
Maybe I'll buy
maybe even nowhere in particular. Maybe they have some fruit beers there. And their t-shirts fit well. So if you're looking for a last minute gift, run over to Kettering, grab yourself a nowhere in particular t-shirt, go to Branch and Bone, grab a couple beers. Boom, last minute gift, all done. No lines either.
No.
Walmart's got huge lines. Well, thanks for joining the podcast. Thanks for filling in last minute.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime.
I know you miss Matt and Chris.
I may not be here next week for the pod. I don't know what Matt and Chris are doing. Maybe I'll join in by Skype. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just enjoy my vacation. Who knows? That's it.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy New Year. Think about some of your favorite year beers, if you had any, because it's been a rough year. And that's it. Thanks for joining us. Episode 119. Episode 120 is next week. Matt said he's going to give Chris aged 120 minute for episode 120. No, he didn't say that. Oh. But I just said it for him. And they're going to get sloshed. They're going to get fucked up drunk. Because 120 minutes crazy. That's it. I will not be here in person next week, but Matt and Chris should be back. Thanks for joining us. Brew Crew Podcast. Call us with all your advertising needs. We want the money. Bye.